Hey everyone, and welcome to the All Elite Zone podcast on YouTube and Twitch. We're here for our AEW Dynamite live reaction, but we're here for an interview, as we've said, with former WWE star, former WCW star, former ECW star, currently, I guess you'd say, current TNA Impact star, which you are in Impact. We're here with Johnny Swinger. Okay. There we go. We're here with Johnny Swinger. I want to thank you for being on here. I know it's a weekday, so it's normally hard to do that, but we want to thank you for being on here. We definitely appreciate you being on. I know lots of other people around the podcast are excited that you're on.
Well, thank you for having me, guys. I don't do too many. Mostly they're set up through Impact, but I get a little bit of leeway with my discretion. You know, you guys seem legit. I looked you up a little bit, and you guys look like you got it going on. So I'm real confident this is going to go well, and we're going to have some fun.
Yeah, we recently had the Pope on here last week.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah.
We've had quite a few guys. We've had Sabu. We've had Ahmed Johnson on. We've had we've had a good amount of new up and coming legends.
You guys are building it. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. I guess I'll start off with the first question. I guess I'll go with this. I know Ron Gossett. He does Universal Championship Wrestling. He wanted me to ask about your time in Universal Championship Wrestling. I actually met you a few times there. I went to his show sometimes, and I met you there before. So talk about your run with Universal Championship Wrestling.
Yeah, Ronnie was UCW, man. He started that back in, I want to say 2003, when I was still with TNA originally. And I would have to say I've done not every one of his shows, but most of them. I was a pretty good regular there. He promoted some pretty big events, as you know, throughout Georgia and even into the Carolinas and that. I was actually just wondering, because he hasn't, I haven't heard from him. I hear from him for greetings and stuff like that, but I don't think I've done a show for him in about a year. So I think he's kind of slowed down his schedule a little bit, but hopefully he gets some events on the calendar here. I look forward to going back there. Always great shows, a lot of big name talent on there, good crowds, you know what I mean? And it was definitely one of the major promotions in the Southeast.
Zach?
Yeah. So, Swing Man. Oh, so cool to have you on here, brother. Thank you for taking the time.
I wore my bandana in that. I didn't want to be confused with Tommy Dreamer. He's gone and copied my look with the goatee and that little ponytail is just it's not as good as my man bun, so to speak.
So Swing Man,
he's just an up and coming youngster, so maybe he'll figure it out.
Can we see a hair match possibly in the future?
Only if I'm winning, right? Do everybody a favor and get rid of that little knob he's got back there.
There you go. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, my goodness. I mean, you've been rocking and rolling since what, 92?
93. I started training in 93. I had my first match towards the end of 93 up in Toronto, Canada. That's where I broke in. I was trained by Sweet Daddy Siki and Ron Hutchison's camp in Toronto, which also produced Edge and Christian, Joe Legend, and then after our class, Trish Stratus, Gail Kim, Beth Phoenix, just a complete who's who of wrestlers out of Canada, which I'm not Canadian. I'm actually American, but I lived right on the border outside Buffalo, New York. So it was pretty cool to break in Canada. Everyone knows there aren't too many slouch wrestlers coming out of Canada. You know what I mean? Just, look at the Hearts and what they produced to the sport. And all those names I just listed all came out of the same camp. So that just tells you, Canada makes great wrestlers, beer, and some cars.
Right on.
Ron Gossett's actually in the chat. Swinger was our longest running champion. If anyone's interested.
Yeah, that's right. That's correct.
If anyone didn't know that, Swinger's the longest reigning Universal Championship Wrestling champion.
That's pretty cool to know that. like I said, Ronnie always put on great shows. Hopefully he gets rolling again, man. Be glad to go back and put more good events and with big crowds and all that. He's always got big stars on there for the people. It's something to come out and see. It really is.
Very cool.
Yeah. The next question is: you've been in just about every major wrestling promotion that ever existed. WCW, WWE, TNA. I'm a WCW guy, even though I didn't live through it. I've got WCW flags. I watch WCW. Talk about your WCW run. I recently watched a match with you, and can't remember who it was, but it was WCW. I believe I want to say it was Nitro that you were on.
Sure. If you're probably thinking a match with me and Chavo, because that was the biggest Nitro that there ever was. The one out of the Georgia Dome in '98, where Goldberg beat Hogan for the belt. For 30 years of being a wrestler, you always remember something like that. When you're in the biggest company, you're on the biggest show, the biggest TV show they ever did. That sticks with you forever. And that particular match was Chavo Guerrero, as everybody knows, comes from an unbelievably great wrestling family, and we always had great matches together. Always liked wrestling him. Our styles really matched back then. I think they would right now. I just seen him recently within the last year. He's still in great shape. So WCW was my big break. It was my first break, and it was my big break because, as you know, that 97, 98, 99 were the biggest years for not just WCW, just wrestling as a whole. I mean, it was just to be there and with all those major stars and to be in the mix with that. And it was just a great time to be in wrestling. Not that it's not good now. It was just a different kind of, that's when the Monday Night Wars got going. And for me to be a small part of that, something that, you never forget.
Yeah, that's so cool. Speaking of being in WCW during the Monday Night Wars, Swingman, who would you say was like your greatest inspiration, or just like the person who you leaned on there when things got maybe a little crazy?
There were so many people. It's hard to name just one, but if I had to pick one for WCW, was probably Terry Taylor. Was in the Office, and he was a great wrestler in his own right, and he's someone that I watched and study a lot, and he became a mentor of mine. And when I would come back from a match, he would pull me Okay, I think we're back now. Did you guys? I think I lost you guys for a couple seconds there.
Yep, we got you.
I think I was saying Terry Taylor was a big mentor of mine in WCW. He was on the booking committee with Kevin Sullivan and Paul Orndorff, and all those gentlemen were very helpful to me in my early years in wrestling. You got to think, when I started wrestling there on major cable television, I'd only been wrestling a few years at that point, so I wasn't green, but I was still pretty inexperienced for big time TV wrestling. And those guys they're all great coaches, and they tell you if you did something wrong or if you did something right. They tell you keep it up, keep doing that. So it was a really good place to be.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds like a. I'm sorry, Connor.
My question's similar to his, but mine is your favorite wrestlers to work with. You've wrestled in every major wrestling promotion there is to work for that ever existed. So, what is some of your favorite guys that you like working with?
I like working with a lot of the younger guys that I'm getting a chance to wrestle with now. Just to see in the next generation of talent that's going to be the movers and shakers in the next 20 years. So it's pretty, because that's how, like, when I started, I got to wrestle so many of the guys that I watched on television, like Greg the Hammer Valentine and Dusty Rhodes, and just all these great stars from when I was growing up. And now I feel like it's kind of, now I'm in that position, getting to wrestle a lot of young guys that are climbing the ladder. You can just tell the potential that they have, how far they're going to go. And it's great to be in the middle of all that and still be in the public spotlight for wrestling. I still do a lot of independent events, but it's great to still be on a television promotion. And like I said, get in there and mix it up and see if I still got it, with a lot of these great young guys. But ECW had a lot of great matches, like people like Jerry Lynn and, Nova and Chris Chetty and Danny Doring and Roadkill, the last ECW tag team champions. There were a lot of battles with them, just great matches up there in New York and Philadelphia. Really enjoyed my wrestling there. Everywhere, pretty much. I don't have too many complaints. If it was a complaint, I'd say WWE. I didn't get enough of a chance to do what I would want to do there. But that's not just me. A lot of people, that's a big machine there, and sometimes you just get lost in the shuffle. But for 18 months that I was there, I consider myself lucky and grateful to be able to say I work for Mr. McMahon and his family, because that's the biggest you can go. So pretty much everywhere. Like Val Venus is someone I had really enjoyed matches with in WWE. Had a couple TV matches with Kane that I was pretty excited to do, and I always remember he was a really big star and was gracious with me in the match, and we made good matches. He didn't have to do that for me. He could have just steamrolled me in a few seconds. But no, Shelton Benjamin had really good matches with him up there. So yeah, everywhere I got really good opportunities to wrestle great talent.
Very cool. Now, what would you say was your inspiration to become a professional wrestler?
Well, that goes all the way back to being a lot like a lot of people when they're kids, that you come across it on TV, and I was the same. I think I was 7 or 8 years old when I just came across on TV. I was just immediately mesmerized. Because when I went to see it in person the first time, I was probably about 9 years old. It was 1984. Living in Buffalo, my uncle took me to the old War Memorial Auditorium there. When I saw that, that's when I knew I wanted to do it right away, and I stuck with it. And I started working out when I was 12, and just dedicate myself to it. And I was studying tapes before I even knew what I was actually doing. I never watched it as a fan. I was watching it to see how they did it and try to get as much as I could out of just watching it. I knew eventually I'd be trained, but I think that helped me, that I really looked at the people and how they executed the moves and how they took their time with certain things and then got aggressive at other times. So I think I had a lot more in my brain by the time I actually got trained when I was right out of high school. So yeah, I broke in just like most people, you know what I mean? I did have a family friend, which was just funny, that came later. I already wanted to be a wrestler, and then ended up, my stepfather was good friends with a wrestler, Tony Cannonball Parisi, and I got involved when I was a teenager with setting up the rings and all that stuff. So everything kind of fell into place for me. It was, I guess, inevitable that I would follow it all the way through. And I have to this day. I've never had a year off, never had, luckily, a major injury. A lot of people suffer severe injuries. I've just been lucky and try my best to, go out there and make a good match without, I was never a high risk maneuver type of a guy. So I think that's helped me out. I like to look at things beforehand and kind of gauge was never a ladder guy or a tables guy, that stuff. So I think it's lended its hand to my longevity.
Yeah, and I love that you took the psychological approach to pro wrestling, and
that's what we were taught. We were taught that way. Like I said, starting in the early '90s, we were watching the guys off the '80s, and that's what it was all about. It was all about, why are you making a move out there? You know what I mean? And why wouldn't you? You know, and why wouldn't you try to pin the guy if he's not? You know, it was really, and if we didn't do stuff like that, they'd yell at us. You know what I mean? So that's the way we were kind of broke in and trained, and it's a lot faster paced now. But man, a lot more athleticism now with some of these guys. I'm blown away by some of the stuff these guys get do, and I'm like, man, if I had to do that kind of stuff, I wouldn't make it. I wouldn't make it, and you know, I'm lucky that they brought me into Impact to basically play the character that I really am, which is an old school, you know, wrestler from, you know, early 90s type deal, which is unbelievably 30 years now. It doesn't seem that long, but yeah, it seems like it seems like I was just a kid, you know, dreaming about it. And now I've been doing it longer than a lot of the guys that are on there now have been alive. So it's, yeah, time has gone by.
So we got a few questions in here. Davis says, what do you think about AEW?
I think it's the greatest thing to happen to wrestling since Ted Turner lost majority share. It's great that there's another major league promotion. It's great for the talent. It's great for the individual businesses to have competition. I think as we're doing this interview, there's a loaded up night of wrestling on with AEW and NXT, and that's something, like I said, was big in the late 90s when I was there with WCW, and then went away in 2001, and now it's finally back to that again. So it's pretty exciting to, you know, have another major option for the talent, for the fans, you know, and then they can choose who they want to see, and you know, and there's a lot of people crossing over like they did with the NWO, and you know what I mean, back then, where, man, you never knew. Rick Rude was on Monday Night Raw, and then he was on Nitro on the same night. I mean, stuff like that's going to start happening again, and that's great for all of us, the wrestlers, the fans. It's you know, it's another boom period for the sport.
Yeah. One more question. I seen you still on ECW in 2000. I know you're
Right.
in ECW. This is what event Ethan's talking about, but yeah. My next question is: you've been in TNA technically twice. You were in TNA 2004, 5-ish, I think.
Yeah, 2003 to 2005. Yep.
And then you came back this new era. Who are some of the guys in Impact now that you think that if people listening right now don't know, that they should check out?
Well, we got an unbelievable roster of X Division stars, and we have some pretty impressive heavyweights like Moose and Josh Alexander. I'm a big fan of Steve Macklin. Just he reminds me of an old school bruiser type of a wrestler, and PCO's in there, who's a guy I watched when I was a kid, as the Quebecers, and we have just an array of talent there. And then you got, you know, the champion Alex Shelley, who's just can do anything in the ring, can get, you know what I mean, can do anything. Chris Sabin, all those guys, everybody's got their spot on the card, and they deliver, and it just makes for a great show. We got a tremendous women's division that's really skyrocketed, and we got a lot of women like Jordan Grace and that have Deanna Peraza have become major drawing cards for the company. So when you put it all together, it's quite the stew. Like I said, I'm just grateful to be there and have an opportunity to have a little spot in that. And I'll be on the upcoming Bound for Glory coming up in a couple weeks in Chicago. So I'll look forward to that. It'll be my 5th Bound for Glory since I went back in 2019. So that's pretty exciting for me to have. It's now the longest period that I've ever been. All those companies you mentioned that I've been in, I'm in the middle of my longest tenure with a company, which blows my mind, because, you know, going in my mid 40s, I never actually thought I'd go back on TV after I left WWE in 2006. I hoped that I would, but for a lesson for all the young wrestlers out there, just perseverance is what it's all about. You know, I left WWE in 2006, and I never, like I said, I never took a month or a week off. I went right to the independents, and geez, what's that? 13 years later, I get a call to go back on national TV with Impact, and I was hoping to get 6 months or a year out of it. It's now been 4 years, and it's just been great. It's been my favorite time, the most fun I've ever had, because I've been allowed to be a character, and it's a character that's kind of based on my real upbringing in wrestling, which is spent a lot of time on the road with a lot of the 80s wrestlers, and I got it all up in my brain here, all the things they said and they did, and I just let loose on the TV with it, and it just makes for some good entertaining segments.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Swingman, we know in professional wrestling, ribs are a big part of the culture. Do you have any good rib stories you can share, maybe that were pulled on you or you pulled on others?
You know, I really didn't. I didn't get ribbed too much. I don't know why that is. I think maybe because I was always so serious about doing the best job that I could in the ring, that I was always kind of wrapped up in that. So, but I've heard plenty of stories, you know what I mean? Like Owen Hart being a massive ribber, and Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, was an idol of mine when I was a kid. And then I got to work with him in WCW, and everything was a rib to him. Everything was a joke. And people would be surprised how many wrestlers, how they're different in the dressing room. How many of them could actually be stand-up comedians because they just have you laughing the whole time. I always say that pro wrestling is like high school with money. It's a bunch of big kids walking around, and the Steiners are good friends of mine. They're classic ribbers.
Oh, I can only.
Yeah.
There was one story that Ahmed Johnson told us. It was Owen Hart. To mention that you mentioned Owen Hart. Ahmed Johnson thought he had a big USA Today or something, that he supposedly got a call that he was going to be on there. Then it was Owen Hart that made the call and set up all this stuff. And then Ahmed Johnson buys a suit. He buys all this stuff, and then it was all Owen Hart that pulled all that.
Yeah, I heard he pulled some pretty elaborate ribs back in the day. Yeah, he was a classic. Mr. Fuji, I heard, was a big ribber. Some mean ribs. He was like a mean ribber, like he'd shave your eyebrows when you're sleeping, stuff like that. Paint your fingernails on the plane, you fall asleep, and just, yeah, like I said, my era, I think that they're more serious, and I even think today there's not that much ribbing going on. I think guys are just so wrapped up in creating the best matches they can, and building their career, and there's just, I guess, not a lot of time for that anymore. It's I think the guys were on the road a lot more back then, so there was a lot more opportunity to rib people, whereas we're shooting TV a couple times here, I mean, so when you're there, you're wrapped up in it all day, man, and they're long days, like making a movie. We got to be at TV at 1 o'clock, and you get out of there at midnight. You're just too tired to think of ribs. But the Bulldogs were big, and like you said, Owen, Mr. Perfect, he could stir the pot like nobody else, and just a bunch, like I said, a bunch of grown men acting like kids.
Kevin, thanks for watching. Eden says you were with Simon when I seen you in ECW.
That's right. Yep. We had a good run there as a tag team, and I think we would have went further if ECW didn't close. But we did get to continue our partnership into TNA, and we were successful there and becoming the champions, and had a really good run there. We split up as eventually every tag team splits up, you know what I mean? Had a little short-term feud there, but we're still really good friends to this day. I spoke to him on the phone today. He's actually the Billy Corgan's right-hand man in the NWA right now. So he still works in the sport, and is very involved with talent relations and management with NWA starting to really grow as a company. So yep. great friend. He was best man at my wedding, and we had a great partnership inside the ring, and it continues on today.
Yeah. This is my turn next. So next question is, you were, as I said many times, you were a lot of promotions. Well, this is kind of what I was going to ask. What Davis just put. What was it like working with Eric Bischoff? I'm a big WCW guy, as I said. So,
right.
like,
No, I love talking about WCW. Like I said, it was, not to sound cheesy, it was a magical time. It really was. And you got 42,000 people in a dome watching you wrestle. That's a pretty big deal. And I was able to wrestle in several domes, the Astor Dome. There's a St. Louis, it was the RCA Dome, and several NBA arenas that were full to watch me wrestle. And to me, that was Eric Bischoff really taking the ball and running with it when he got control of WCW. And I don't think he gets enough credit for what he was able to do. He turned WCW from losing money into a major profit. And people say, oh, well, it was only for 3 years. A couple $100 million a year is nothing to, you can't degrade someone for you. That's an unbelievable accomplishment. So the guy is smarter than a lot of people give him credit for. He signed off on me getting a contract, so I'll always be grateful to get signed to a Ted Turner contract at 21. At the time, I was 21 years old. I was the youngest person under contract, wrestler-wise, to WCW. Right behind Alex Wright and Rey Mysterio, and he gave me an unbelievable opportunity. I still see him once in a while at FanFest, and he remembers me. I always go up to him and thank him. Him and JJ Dillon, they always were very professional to me and treated me like a major talent. So nothing to say bad about Eric. I wish he would have been able to pull off the purchase in 2001, because it was real close to him with a new investor group that was going to take WCW into another era, and that's when the Vince McMahon and WWF bought it out. But I think Eric's a really intelligent, creative guy for wrestling, and he's always involved with it, even to this day. I know he's got a podcast, and I like to listen to his some of the clips from his podcast. Like I said, I just think he's a really intelligent guy, and you can learn something. I can still learn from people that can run a business as big as he did and make it as big as he did. He's got a lot of knowledge.
Yeah. No, and like speaking of Eric Bischoff, just hearing his story of like when he started in the AWA, and then one day they were like, "Hey, do you want to announce?" And then he became, what he became in WCW. So yeah, great story. Great story. Yeah.
And like I said, he's no slouch, man. He's not someone that, you don't get a job like that without having some kind of credentials. And a lot of people don't know. He started with Verne Gagne. He's paid his dues in wrestling. He didn't just come from the old timers complain about a guy named Jim Herd and go, "Oh, you're at WCW, you ruined it," blah blah blah. Jim Herd didn't have any kind of background. Right? He came from Pizza Hut management. So literally, to call the guy up, he's running Pizza Hut, say, "Hey, you're going to run the wrestling company." That wasn't Eric. Eric was involved with the wrestling profession through Gagne, and he wanted to be in it. He wanted to do well at it. So that just makes for that's what we're all doing. We all have an idea like that we want to do it, and then we take the steps to make it happen, which are a lot of steep steps. And he did that. He was obviously the right man for the job. I mean, could somebody else have gone in there? I heard there was other people up for that position. I heard Tony Schiavone was up for the position, a couple other people, but to me, Eric's a success story. He really is. And I had a great contract for 3 years, and thanks to him. So yeah, big fan.
Yeah. So going ECW, going from WCW to ECW, what were some of your favorite moments working in ECW? I know we mentioned Simon. Are there any other good moments that you had in ECW?
I liked wrestling with Dreamer, Tommy Dreamer, who's also a great friend of mine now. We had some great matches. We did a lot of 6-man tags in ECW. We did a one match, and I'll tell you this story. This is great. Towards the end of the company, it was December 2000, and we did a big show at the Elks Lodge in Queens, New York, which was a big market for ECW. And Paul called in a favor to Vince McMahon to send the Dudleys down. Dudleys were full-time WWF at the time, and they came down, and it was them and Tommy Dreamer against myself, Simon Diamond, and C.W. Anderson for the main event match in Queens, and it was sold out, and it blew the roof off the place. And that's probably one of my favorite matches of all time, just because the Dudleys come in, they're ECW, megastars, and then at that time they were big WWF stars coming off WrestleMania and stuff, and still there, and then coming down to wrestle us. It was a major deal. So that was one of my favorite matches. And then, like I said, getting to wrestle Dreamer and Jerry Lynn. Mikey Whipwreck was great to wrestle with. Really enjoyed matches with him. Little Guido was a lot of fun. There was nobody on the ECW roster that wasn't worth it, or they wouldn't have been there. That was one thing about ECW. You got a chance there to make something of yourself, and if you did, you stayed, and if you didn't, you're out of there. So that's how I got a lot of confidence wrestling there, because I wouldn't have been kept around there for the whole year. I was on every pay-per-view for that in 2000. When I started in March of 2000, from then on, I was on every pay-per-view all the way through the last one. And there was no charity case. If you could deliver, you're on there. If you didn't, they'd bring somebody else, put them in your spot. So great working experience, great exposure at the time. My gosh, our ratings were pretty similar to what AEW is doing right now. So it was pretty big viewership. We had about 1 million people watching our TV show every week, and our pay-per-view buy rates weren't shabby either. So it was a major, what I called it a territory. I thought it was the last real territory. We were based in the Northeast, but we went to a lot of big markets like Chicago, LA, Dallas. We did the show in Toronto. We had 6,000 people there in 2000. LA at the Grand Olympic Auditorium for Heat Wave, I think it was 2000. It was 5,000 or 6,000 people there. We had some really, really big crowds there that whole last year of ECW. It was a great experience. I wish it could have continued, because it was a great place for young wrestlers to, really find themselves and establish themselves to a national audience. And while it was big, you could go on to even bigger things from there. So it was a big loss for the whole profession, I think, when ECW went down.
Yeah.
Brenda, Johnny, what is one thing you would like to do in your wrestling career? I guess something that you haven't done yet.
Hey guys, I'm as close to my router as I could get without sitting on it. I keep saying get close to your router.
The question that Brenda, Johnny, what is one thing you'd like to do in your wrestling career? I guess something that you haven't done yet.
I don't want to say I've done it all. I enjoy what I'm doing right now. I'd like to just keep doing it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm hoping they give me another 1-year extension. Like I said, I'm most of the way through my 3rd contract with Impact, and from all accounts, they're happy with what I'm doing. I'm really enjoying. Like I said, I'm enjoying my run there, and I'm a little over 4 years now, and the character is still popular, and I'm enjoying doing it. And they always have something for me to. You know what I mean? We got some great people there. Scott D'Amore, the president of the company, a good friend of mine. We go all the way back to he's the one that got me booked for WCW originally. So he's always been an influence in my career. And Tommy Dreamer, like I said, is involved with production and he's been a great co wrestler and great friend. So it's great to be working with those guys, and I can't imagine a better scenario somewhere else right now. So I'm hoping that that I get to stick around a little longer. And I made some really good friends there as well. A lot of the young guys, and you know, they take advice and they give it too. I mean, they sometimes they got good ideas for me, man, and I use them. You know what I mean? Because they're plugged into culture. You know what I mean? They know what's cool and what's popular and what's hip. And man, so we all just we work together and help each other out. You know, it reminds me of ECW a little bit.
There's one question from Ariana. Are you going to be at WrestleCade?
I am. Yeah, I'm there. This will be my third year in a row. I'll be doing my VIP party on Friday night at 10 at the Marriott across the street from the convention center there. Last 2 years, it's been great. It's like a little pre-party to all the events of the weekend. Usually there's a card of matches on Friday night from like 7 to 10, and then 10 to 12 is my VIP party. There's going to be food, and there's always special guests. Last year, Ricky Morton was there, Rob Van Dam, Kiss Demon, Zicky was there, my partner in Impact, Mike Jackson, just a whole host of big time people in wrestling. So it's always a great time, and definitely come by and see me there.
I went to WrestleCade. The first and only time I went was 2020, and you started my WCW flag actually. Then you might have like remember me, but I've met you at least 7-8 times over the years.
Oh sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to be there this year, definitely come, and I'll be there for the Fan Fest as well on Saturday.
Yeah, if anyone's watching and you're going to WrestleCade, make sure to stop by Johnny Swinger's booth. He'll be there. I guess we can ask one question each. I can ask one more, and Zach, you can ask one more. I guess my final question is, what is advice that you would give to younger wrestlers who are coming up in the indies to make the next jump into like a promotion like Impact or NWA, I guess, or going to AEW?
Be patient. That's really what it is. The thing I see the most is guys they're in a hurry, and I understand. I was hungry too, but your time will come. But until it does, you have to work on yourself. If you want to be in WWE or if you want to be in Impact, watch the shows, see what the guys look like on there, and then look at yourself and say, do I look like that? Because if you don't, you need to make yourself. There's so much that you can do for yourself, and that's really all you can do. That's all you have control over is your own talent, look, and abilities. So make that the best that you can, which is done through repetitive matches, and get as much experience as you can, because the more places you get, the more people you'll come in contact with, and you just never know when you will get an opportunity, but you got to be ready for it, because if you're not ready for it, you might not ever get another one. So patience is key. And obviously never say never. It happened to me. I knew I would stay wrestling, but I didn't think I'd go back on TV once I got over 40. And then lo and behold, I had the best, in my opinion, the best run on TV I ever had, going in there at 44. So no one's ever too old. The Rock's not too old. They're begging him to be in the main event. He's 52. They're begging him to be WrestleMania main event. So you're never too old. You're never too, you can make wrestling what you want it to be. So you just got to believe it and stick with it. If that's what you want to do, then do it. But you got to do everything that you can, which is how you look, how you perform, how you do interviews. Like we're talking right now, you got to be able to talk in front of a camera and get your point across. And you never know it all. So just keep working. I keep watching the Masters, as I call them. I still do it. I still watch the Masters of wrestling. And, I can watch a match right now with Randy Orton's dad and just go, oh my gosh, I'm going to steal that. There's just so much. You never know it all. So just keep learning, keep plugging away, and eventually you'll get a chance. Just be ready.
Cool. And then my final question for you, And hopefully this moment is far, far in the future. But Swingman, whenever you untie your boots for the last time and you lay them in the middle of the ring, what do you, what do you want your peers and your fans to remember you by?
I honestly, I tagged up with Bullet Bob Armstrong a day after his 80th birthday. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to go that long, but I think you're right. I think the day will come, and I don't think I'm going to have to be remembered. I think I'm going to stay in it. I think when the final match comes, I think that means that I've started full time as a producer or on a creative team, or maybe down with the NXT training center, something. I think I'm a lifer. I'll always be involved with wrestling. And we're good friends with Rhino. And we talked about this, and we're like, for us at this point in our life, being in the ring or being behind the scenes working with young talent is like the same thing. We're still in it. We're still doing it. You know what I mean? So we'll never really be done. There'll always be another. I wrestled Scott D'Amore the other night in Windsor. He's the vice president of our company. He's not supposed to be a wrestler anymore, but he's flying all around the ring doing all, maybe I'll be a manager. Maybe I'll be an announcer, a commentator. I'd love to do all those things. You know what I mean? Those are all things that I think my current swingman persona can, if it got to a point where it actually wouldn't have matches anymore, I still think I'll be involved on air in some way, shape, or form, or definitely behind the scenes, or both. It's like I tell a lot of the young guys, it's like being an actor. Once you get a role, it leads to another role, leads to another role. You got to get that first role. And I was lucky enough that I've gotten a lot of great roles, and I've been involved in, like, as you said, a lot of great organizations. And I'm with one of the main ones right now. And I'm hoping to stay with them and just keep doing what I set out to do from the very beginning. Which,
for me at least, I don't think I'll ever accept that you'll ever be gone from the wrestling business. Just as a fan.
Yeah, after 30 years, I'll always, like a WrestleCade or something, I'll always go to one of them. I'll never say no to that, you know? I'll be in Philadelphia on October 28th for the Heroes. I think it's the Heroes and Icons or something like that. October 28th, I'll be there for that. So I love doing those kind of events, and that I could see myself doing those forever if they'll have me, you know?
Yeah. No, I love that.
Impact came to Nashville.
That's where it all started. Yeah.
I actually went to Impact in Memphis not too long ago. They came to Memphis.
Oh, did you do? See, I was on something else. I wasn't there that weekend. That was the recent one last month.
Yeah, I went to Saturday one.
Yeah, I wasn't. Well, I wrestled in the one before that, White Plains, and we were supposed to do something. And we had a lot of contracts coming up. A lot of people are leaving, so a lot of stuff got switched around. But I'm back in Chicago for the Bound for Glory, and we do the IPWF show every year. We'll be doing that in November, and then we're doing a whole revamp. Everything starts over new in the new year. They haven't really told us what it's going to be, but there's going to be some major upgrades to the production and the way the show's presented. And so far, I've been told I'll be involved with things going forward. So I look forward to seeing how this all plays out.
We definitely appreciate you coming on. You're definitely one of the. I hate to say this to not discredit anyone else we've had on here, but it was definitely. You're one of the best that we've had on here to communicate.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. And I love doing them. Like I said, I don't get a chance to do too many, but I do. When I do them, I enjoy them, and it's a good time. I love talking shop and the experiences, because they're great, man. They're all great, and it's just going to keep rolling with it and having a good time, man. That's what it's all about. That's what I tell the young guys, man. Just have fun first and foremost, and then you won't be disappointed, you know.
So do you have a pro wrestling tees or anything that viewers
I do. Yep, I got a store at Pro Wrestling Tees. I'm on Cameo. I love doing those. Those are fun for my character. So that's cool. I got a little shop there on Pro Wrestling Tees. Got some Swingman originals on there. They're not Impact trademark, so you can go on there and grab one of those. That'd be cool.
So if anyone watching, all the links all the links to John Swinger's pro wrestling tee, his Cameo will be in the link description below. So if you're interested in getting a John Swinger merchandise or getting a Cameo, definitely go in the link description below and find all that. Definitely thank you for coming on. We definitely appreciate it.
Man, thank you guys. My pleasure.
And we definitely look forward to having you on again sometime in the future. But yeah, definitely appreciate you coming on. And yeah. So I got anything else, Zach, you want to add anything else?
Man, thank you guys, and good luck with everything, man. You know, it's I appreciate being on. I'd love to come back.